Shalom. All praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakaf. The double honors to the elder apostles, the bishops, and the elders of GMS, who as well. Peace and salutations to the elect. My name is Aina. The title of the video is Hungary. Hungary, cannot refuse from Russian oil. And basically, this is the beast system being divided, right? And this allows us to know that the scriptures, are faithful and true. And this goes into the warning, and the vision basically being certain. Everything that's happening in the world right now are the effects and signs of the last days, right? And it's all coming to pass, and it's all true. There's no getting around this book. There's no getting around these scriptures. This second Edges 15:1 says, "Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people." Right? See, so the Lord Yahweh Bashim Shai has set up men, which are the prophets, to give you warning from him. Right? To warn you of the days that we are in now. Right? The warning has been going out for many years, starting with our elder apostles, right? And their elder apostles, their elders, their elder apostles, right? Since like the 1960s. In 1960s, this message regarding the scriptures and the things to come, right, has been, teach and taught around the world through the www dot and also men on the street corners, telling you basically the days that we're living in now. And it's all coming to pass. And, the men of the Lord are still here. They're still preaching. They're still teaching. So there's still time for you to see, because, for some people, seeing is believing, and the Lord can open up your eyes and you can still come into the fold of view of the elect. So you're living in the midst of the fire now, right? Because it's all here, the MOTB, right? Jacob's trouble, World War III. Even famines is about to be kicking off bigger here in America. People not being able to get food. Storehouses no longer being full. Second Edges 15:1, "Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, said the Lord Yahweh Bashim Shai." Right, he puts in the mouth of the prophets. Hebrews 1:1. Sorry. Hebrews 1:1. Yahweh, who at sundry times in diverse manners spake in time past unto the fathers by the prophets. So, basically he speaks by the mouth of his prophets. Let me get this. Luke 1:70 says, Luke 1:70, "As he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began." So the prophets have always been here, and they're going to be here in the last days, right? When these miraculous works are brought upon planet Earth, and that's death, destruction, pestilence, mournings, famines, and all these different things that's happening. People are going to want to know what's going on, and the prophets have been warning you, right? Second Edges 15:1, "Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashim Shai, and cause them to be written in paper," which is the Bible, right? "For they are faithful and true." So these words, they are faithful and true, and we knew that. Through faith, we knew that. And now you can see that because everything that's written is coming to pass. Habakkuk 2 says, "Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come." And it is here now, right? So I got this portion here regarding Hungary taking no measures to refuse from Russian oil. Now, this goes into the beast being separated. That is America and the EU and NATO, right? It's a whole system they have put together, and they're basically trying to go with Russia, and they're trying to tell their members to separate from buying Russian oil. And it's basically impossible because they depend on the Russian oil to, supply, basically the needs to their whole area, basically, even themselves, the leaders who live in that area. So it says Hungary, right? Hungary. Let me see what's up, how to say this word properly.
Hungary.
Okay, Hungary. Okay, it's in Europe, right? So Hungary is doing nothing to refuse from Russian oil and gas. U.S. permanent representative to NATO Matthew Whitaker says, "Our expectation is that countries like Hungary, Turkey, and Slovakia that continue to buy Russian oil and gas will come up with a plan and execute a plan that weans them off Russian oil and gas." And Hungary, like unlike many of their neighbors, has not made any plans or made any active steps, he said in an interview with Fox News. So, they're inquiring about why this guy is, not basically coming up with a plan to stop buying Russian oil. And this is what's going to cause, uh, these basically the 10 horns to hate the horde, because they're making, plans that's not beneficial to their allies. So Hungary is an ally of America, right, through the beast system, which is NATO, right? And uh, they're telling this guy to stop buying Russian oil, and he has no other method of getting oil, right, for a correct price and all of that. So it's not helping him, the things that America is doing, right? And this is happening now, right? It's in the news. Revelation 17 and 14, it says, "These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest where the horse sitteth are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues." Right? And basically, ultimately, Yahushua will come during the period of World War III, right, when they're in the Levant region, and the kings of the earth will try to make war with him right upon his return, but they're going to be destroyed. It says, "In the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore." So the whore is America, right? The beast is the NATO EU. They're going to hate um, America. They're going to hate Babylon the Great because of many different reasons, right? And we're seeing those different reasons play out right now. We're seeing how the Most High Yahweh Bashim Al pursuant to Isaiah 19 is confounding their counsel, right? Where they're not making plans, right? They're already putting sanctions on their allies and things like that. And now they're telling their allies to do things that's detrimental to themselves, right? "So these shall hate the whore and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her with flesh and burn her with fire," right? So for Yahweh have put it in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, unto the words of Yahweh shall be fulfilled. So NATO, EU and whatnot was going to give their power and their script unto, basically America until the time that Yahweh is going to turn them against each other, right? And that's the time we're living in now, right? And these are the things they're going to be thinking about. It says they're going to hate the whore and shall make her desolate and naked and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. So this dude is saying that they're going to come up with a plan, to basically try to fix their situation. And ultimately, the plan is going to be joining up with Russia to destroy America, because that's the only option for them. They can't do anything, basically else to get oil, it seems. And this goes back to other things that has happened too. The destroying of the Nord Stream pipelines, right? And then Israel coming out talking about they're working on a new pipeline that could go through Turkey and all of that, end up in Israel and whatnot. So these are plans and things that they have done, and America and Israel has been together, and it basically backfiring on people like Hungary. All right, it says Hungary cannot refuse from Russian oil. It says Hungary is realistic about energy supplies problems and cannot refuse from Russian oil. Hungarian Foreign Minister Peter said, "Unfortunately, when it comes to the reality, we cannot get rid of the Russian oil," he said in an interview with Fox News. So America is saying, look, you gotta stop buying the oil. You cannot buy Russian oil, but they can't do that. It says, according to the top Hungarian diplomat, the issue of energy supply should be considered as it is a physical issue, an issue of reality, since you cannot heat or cool your houses with politics. See, politics. Let's see what politics is. Let's see, what is the simple definition of politics? In everyday life, the term politics refers to the way that countries are governed and to the ways that governments make rules and laws to manage the human society properly. Politics can also be seen in other groups such as companies, clubs, schools, and churches. All right, so they're completely divided in their politics. It's Matthew 12 and 20. Let me get it from 5. Matthew 12 and 25, it says, and Yahweh shall know their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And I mean, the way they're divided is in their politics. Daniel goes into that. It says they're partly strong and partly broken. They're partly strong in their military, but they're partly broken in their politics. You telling your ally to stop buying Russian oil when they need Russian oil to survive is stupid. So you're going to be divided. It says, and Yahweh shall know their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And if Satan casts out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? And pretty much these devils are completely divided, and America and Israel is spearheading it, and that's why the scriptures say that they're gonna, turn on the allies are gonna turn on America because it's in, basically these devils to go to war with Russia, ultimately to achieve their goals. Right? Revelations 27, it says, and when 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, which is Russia from the land of Russia, right? To gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. So the war is going to happen, and we can already see that they're taking steps to make this thing happen. And if you understand what I've been reading, these the 10 horns, which are the NATO, and the EU and whatnot, joined unto the beast, will give their power unto the beast. So America is telling them what to do, but ultimately it's the elites, right, telling them what to do. And what they're telling them to do is basically killing themselves. To accomplish their goal, they're having to do things like America striking or Israel striking Qatar and then saying things like, yeah, we let America know we was going to do it. Those are your allies. But they got these goals that they want to do, and it's interfering. And that's why, once again, the 10 horns are going to hate the whore and eventually burn her with fire through war. So this is another problem and a division, that is happening between America and the beast. It says he recalled that he had discussed this problem with the U.S. Secretary of State. So this guy discussed this problem with the U.S. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, and explained to him in detail our very special situation. Since his country has no access to the sea, Rubio, in his words, was the first Western politician who acknowledged that geography must be respected. So even Marco Rubio said, yeah, you know what, you're right. It's a problem that you won't be able to get the oil, But America and Israel, they're going to push for this, ultimately. And it's going to cause them to be very divided as they are now, right? So the scriptures are faithful and they are true, right? And call halal Yahweh Bashmi Awashad, these things are coming to pass. All right, so, that's all I got on that. Lord willing, you edify from the lesson, Shalom, to the whole elect, which consists of men, women, and children, Shalom.